From shaping AI policy across the Biden administration to working on global AI policy, I've heard from companies across the United States on the importance of AI to their businesses and to their economies. AI promises to be a democratizer of innovation. It promises to solve world and community problems, but it can only do so if we can manage the risks. Alessandra.
Hi, Kathi. How are you?
Good, good. So great to be here with you today. Tell us your role at Winston & Strawn. What's your title? And overall, what is the work that you do at Winston?
Sure. So I am one of the co-chairs of our global privacy practice. My practice focuses on large-scale privacy issues, including things like the development of AI, our clients' most complex privacy questions. We help them develop privacy compliance programs. We help them develop products. The other half of my practice involves privacy-related investigations, including the dreaded B word, breaches.
Yes, I know a lot of times I go to ping you and you say, I'm in the middle of a breach.
I'm in the middle of a breach, hair on fire. But when a client needs me, I am there.
Excellent, excellent. What I really want to focus on today is what clients need to know about AI when they're either developing AI within their organizations or when they're using AI from vendors. So can you start us off by talking about the kind of work that you've been doing, what clients are asking, and how you're advising them?
Of course. And I think privacy these days, it's kind of a scary word to a lot of our clients. There's a lot of privacy enforcement that's happening now. There's privacy laws that come out literally day after day, rulings from courts. It's a lot to keep track of. So when we're talking to clients about AI and they ask us about privacy, it usually falls into a couple of different buckets. So first, there is the actual processing of the personal information. So where are you collecting it from? What are you doing with it internally? And then who are you sharing with externally? The second bucket that we tend to look at is data security. So any use of AI, whether you're developing an AI product or you're implementing it within your organization, it's going to involve the collection of a lot of data. And sometimes that data can be really sensitive. So if you're talking about personal information, it could implicate things like health information, medical records, sensitive information about individuals just based on their preferences. So you want to make sure that wherever that data is stored, it's secure and it's safeguarded appropriately in accordance with any contractual requirements that the client might have, and of course, any legal requirements. The third bucket is where it gets really interesting. So a lot of our clients are in the vendor space and they find themselves with just a treasure trove of their customers' data. And naturally, they want to figure out, well, how can I use this while respecting our clients' privacy and staying in line with any contractual obligations that we have. So we've been working a lot with our clients to help them figure out what rights do they have to their data, how can they use their customers' data, and then what implications are there not only from a privacy perspective, but also intellectual property, because we get into things like derivative data and reports and other things that are generated through the services that our clients provide back to their customers that are then helpful as our customers are developing and using AI.
So where does a client get started? Certainly we've seen in the news that certain clients, certain companies have been sanctioned to a large tune when it comes to data issues, when it comes to AI issues.
Yes.
I know that a pressing concern is not just the sanctioning, but the inability to operate. So if a client were to come to you today and say they're concerned about both, where do you start?
So we tend to start with the business teams. And then we build the legal framework around that because, of course, our clients want to innovate. They want to be at the top of their fields. They want to create solutions that could change the world. We work with a lot of healthcare clients, and they are developing tools that could save lives. So we always start with the business, talking to them, figuring out what are your goals? What data do you actually need to use? A lot of times it's not all of the things. It's just a subset of the things. And then once we get the lay of the land there, then we can step out a little bit and look at, okay, well, what are the real legal requirements that we have to think about? Are these data sets governed by customer contracts? How is this company regulated under the law? and what does the business team actually want to do? And then we build the governance or the parameters around that particular project, again, based on what the business wants to achieve. And a lot of times we're able to get them there with just a couple of tweaks. But I think the key is to talk to the business early and often and to make sure that there's an open door so they come to their legal team early in the project.
Well, and I know you and I work a lot on the EU AI Act.
Yes.
And making sure that our clients are complying with that, or at least assessing the risks. In the United States, as everyone knows, we don't have a national AI Act.
Yes.
We have regulation on a state level. How do you keep clients apprised of the requirements when there's either ambiguity or differences state to state?
So we have a team, Kathi. We have, I don't even know how many dozens of people at Winston who are working on this together collaboratively. We're talking every day and figuring out, because there could be a privacy law that could have employment implications. There could be IP requirements that require privacy input. So we have really tackled this as a cross-functional issue. And a lot of our clients have too. Just within our clients, it's the business teams, it's legal, it's the information security team, executives, they have certain data goals that they want to achieve, and they need to be part of the discussion to figure out, okay, well, these things are doable and these things might be less doable or doable with a little bit of risk. So this is really an issue that's been fun for me to work on because I get to work with you, I get to work with all of our fabulous partners, but really everyone needs to come to the table here. To make sure that, again, we're achieving business goals, but we're addressing and mitigating risk where we can.
Well, and talk a little bit about how important it is to actually understand AI in order to do this analysis, because I know that on the projects you and I work on, we need to understand AI at a very deep level.
Yes.
And I know sometimes AI concerns people in organizations. They don't fully understand what AI is and how it works.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that?
It is critical, especially from a privacy perspective, to also understand the science. Because you are inputting data into something. There are outputs coming out, but you need to know all the in-between to figure out, what legal requirements might apply. So on the projects that you and I have worked on together, it's really, we are hand in hand in terms of, your team from the IP perspective, looking at the processing, what is actually happening within that AI algorithm, what is happening to the data, so that my team can say, okay, well, when XYZ happens, then this privacy requirement is implicated. But I don't think that you can really fully analyze the implications of AI development and use without understanding the science behind it.
And you mentioned that we have a cross-functional team here at Winston, and that most of our clients have a cross-functional team as well. How important is it to have that cross-functional team, and what role does advocacy play in this?
That's super important because we are in a gray area, especially in the United States. I think a lot of regulators have perked up and they're really interested in AI. And we're just starting to see the rumblings of what the enforcement actions might look like, but we still don't know for sure. So as our clients want to innovate, it's really important that they have, that as they are developing these projects, that in the back of their mind, they're thinking, okay, well, if we're challenged, here's how we're going to defend this. We've always taken that approach in our privacy practice. We call it litigation-backed counseling because a lot of privacy law is in development right now. So as our clients want to do new things with technology and develop new tools, we tell them, okay, here's how existing privacy law might be implicated, but here's all the risks, and here's how we can prepare to defend you if someone challenges you on this.
Well, and talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about the parallels between privacy and AI, because I know you've led our privacy group for quite some time, and now we're leaning in to help lead our AI group. What are the parallels between the two and how you think companies should approach them?
Sure. So privacy right now in the United States is really regulated on a state level, which is a little disorienting for some of our clients as they're trying to figure out how to navigate what to do with their data. And I think AI regulation will follow much of the same track. Privacy and I think AI is really a bipartisan issue. I think both sides of the political spectrum are really interested in making sure that consumers are protected and that these technologies and uses of data are safe. So from both sides, that clients will see some enforcement action as they do in the privacy space.
Well, and we just saw recently something from the Trump administration related to the regulation of AI within the administration. And we saw that certain categories of data were considered high risk, one of those areas being healthcare.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit to that and what you see as the higher risk areas that companies really need to focus on?
Sure. So in my former pre-Winston life, I was a federal healthcare privacy regulator with HHS. So I agree, I think health data is really sensitive. I think states and the federal government will continue to consider that very sensitive in terms of AI use and development. Another area where we're seeing a lot of action is children's data.
Yes.
And I think that has gained traction in several states. And again, it's a bipartisan issue. So it's something that clients will need to keep top of mind.
We've talked a little bit about regulation. Now let's talk about enforcement. What are we seeing on the enforcement side and what should clients be thinking about?
So we are just at the very beginning of AI enforcement, but I think it will go much the same way as privacy enforcement. And privacy enforcement has really, really picked up over the past year and a half. And it's been on the state front, less so on the federal side of things. But state regulators are really, really interested in privacy. And in particular, uses of personal information that individuals may not understand is happening. So, for example, just privacy separate from AI, there's been a lot of geolocation investigations by regulators because individuals may download an app. They don't know that the geolocation is being tracked, and regulators see that as a deceptive trade practice. So they can come at you both from the privacy side of the law and from their state unfair deceptive trade practice side. But we're hearing from regulators that we've never heard from before. 16 years of being a privacy-focused lawyer, everyone is throwing their hat into the ring. So I would say as AI continues to develop and gain traction amongst the regulators, it'll be the state regulators who lead the charge.
Can we end with a story? Tell us
Yes.
a positive story on how you have helped an AI client stay out of trouble.
So, Kathi, I think my best story is that you never hear stories about my clients. They don't end up in the news because we help them avoid that. Whether it ends with a confidential investigation from a regulator that the regulator decides not to proceed with, or because we help them before they're even on the regulatory radar. But our job is to be the silent, quiet unknown in the background while our clients release these amazing products onto the market.
As much as we like helping clients in litigation, we like using our advocacy skills even more to keep them out of it.
Yes, that is always my goal, much to the chagrin of some of our litigators.
Fantastic. One last piece of advice that you can offer clients. I know you've seen it all.
Yeah.
Is there one thing that clients can do to avoid getting into trouble?
Yeah, I would say the issues surrounding AI, they're not insurmountable. They're a little scary, especially when you hear what your business teams want to do with your data. But I think the best way to approach this is to open the dialogue, is to make sure that our clients who are in-house counsel empower their business teams to come talk to them, to know that we are there to support them further, so that at the forefront of the project, when the business team is thinking about what could we do, what amazing thing could we do with all of our data, to know that the legal team is there to back them up, and we can build the infrastructure, we can assess the risk, we can defend the project if we need to. But the dialogue has to happen early.
Yeah, I remember when I was at the PTO and Chat GPT came out, I didn't say no. I said not yet.
Yes.
Right, we're trying
Not
to help
yet.
clients get to yes.
Yes, we always try to help our clients get to yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being with me here today.
Thank you, Kathi.